This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Okay, welcome to this week's episode of Talk News TV with your host, Herman Tiu Laurel, at ang ating mga guests. At ang pag-uusapan natin itong nakaraang 2014 o patapos na 2014. Ano ba sa palagay ninyo? Paano nyo isusuma ang nangyari itong 2014? Para sa amin, matagal namin pinag-usapan with our guests, we finally agreed that 2014 was a year of crystallization. A clarification of what the reality is. Luminaw sa amin at siguro sa maraming mga kabansa nating Pilipino kung ano ang totoong sitwasyon ng bayan. But before I go on, our guests, let us introduce. Of course, you know both of them. Ado Paglinawan, former diplomat natin po sa Washington Embassy and a political analyst, organizer, and many other things rolled into one. He has been back and forth sa US studying the politics there and being involved in the politics of our country. Very notable about Ado Paglinawan is in 2013, he was the one who discovered the 60-30-10 pattern ng ating huling halalan, the senatorial particularly ranking that was really fixed from the very beginning down to the barangay level. At just a few days ago, napanood nyo yung programa ni Eric Espina, si Melchor Magdamo, repeating again all those findings that we've had. And this will be very important sa ating diskusyon itong araw na to. Dahil para sa marami, luminaw na itong 60-30-10 at yung PCOS machine ay isang pinaka-fundamental na problema ng bayan before we can talk about any election. But we'll go to that later. We have, of course, with us Manny Portes. He was with us maybe 2 years ago. Manny, maybe there's Manny, and ang distinction po niya, he's been with government in and out in many posts and so on. And that's also because he is a political activist, organizer, and one of his distinctions is in having organized the FPJM. Now, there are many FPJ groups, but one of the foremost, which worked very closely, directly with FPJ, is Manny Portes and his FPJM. So, luminaw ba talaga sa bayan ang mga problema, ang mga suliranin? Let's start with our senior member, Ado.
Yep. In the right after the May 13, 2013 elections, it was very difficult to communicate with the general public about what really happened. But I'd just like to clarify my role because this was a growing phenomenon. I was the very first who tipped off members of the Philippine Computer Society at 3 o'clock of May 14.
In the morning.
In the morning. At 3
Madaling
o'clock
araw.
in the morning. Because I was monitoring the canvas reports, and by that time there were already about five canvas reports, and I noticed that the positions of the senators were not changing, and that there was seemingly a pattern that was being formed. I could not put a finger into it, but I emailed
Si Murga ba?
No, I emailed the PCS people who were involved with the AES watch. And the first person who responded was Ernie Del Rosario.
Yes.
And Ernie Del Rosario...
He's a computer IT expert, no?
So computer expert.
UP o Ateneo si Ernie Del Rosario?
UP ata
UP,
siya.
oh.
And then he expanded it a little bit. And Lex Muga received it and put the numbers into works. And finally came up a week after with the 60-30-10.
Okay.
So in a sense, I was the tipping off point, but Lex Muga was the guy who really just brought the numbers together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, kaya sinasabi ko rin na naging malinaw, of course, this was a problem 2010 pa, no? Itong Smartmatic.
Yeah.
At kami ni Bono Adasa, we filed a petition sometime in June of 2010 calling for the nullification of
June
the election.
28. I was a signatory.
Kasama tayo?
Yeah.
And hindi nag-aksyon ang Korte Suprema
Correct.
until 2014.
Yes.
At binigay ng due course, ika nga sa
Yes.
legales, no?
Yeah.
Due course, given due course ang kaso natin.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that has crystallized within 2014.
Pero wala pa rin nangyayari, no?
Hindi pa rin. I think they're...
But it's beginning.
Yeah,
Kasi,
they're joining the issues.
Ang GNN was the only station expressing all these doubts and skepticism about the machine
Correct.
in the 2010 election, and people can go back to the videotapes of that time. You know? Now, let's go to Manny. Manny, in 2010, 2013, you were active in all the polls. Anong assessment mo na? We have gone through the new administration, and it's now not so new anymore. But you're also an economist. You were discussing the economic situation. Maybe have things clarified in economic terms?
Well, in terms
political and economic. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, economically, the report that there is tremendous growth economically, but I think the problem there is the trickle-down effect to the masses. Because if you will survey those people in the streets, those informal settlers, their lives didn't change. Well, this is manifested by the investment coming here. As compared to our ASEAN neighbors, we are way behind in terms of foreign investment. This is direct foreign investment. And this is what I think this administration or the next administration should focus on. Because if we have a lot of foreign direct investment, hard investment, not just what you call the motel investment or the short-time investment, well, unemployment can be solved.
Yeah. Well, I'll connect that to something that also crystallized this year. No? Last December, naalala nyo, electricity rates were set to go up so high, di ba? Because of an instance of market failure daw, sabi ng ERC. But it was actually market manipulation doon sa wholesale electricity spot market. You recall that? Kaya nag-file ng case sa Korte Suprema ang several groups at natigil yun. So I think that was a clarification of the legitimacy of the issues we have been raising about the manipulation of our electricity market and prices. And that is in connection naman to the claimed growth, na 6.7, 7% growth, better than China. Luminaw sa marami
It's going down.
na nalokohan kasi nga, these are just numbers, pero as you explained, the reality is really very bad. And that's, paniwanag mo, hindi nagtitrickle down. But it is also because, I call it the gross domestic pain, growth. Kasi pag tumaas ang signal sa kuryente mo, that goes into the GDP, pero tayong nasasaktan, industriya nasisira. Mabuti naman, at the end of this year, bumabagsak ang oil prices. But even that clarifies that the oil prices have always been manipulated. But now, because I get many questions, because of geopolitical reasons, nagsabuatan ang US at Saudi Arabia to bring down the oil prices in order to put pressure on Russia, Venezuela, Iran, the enemies of the alliances in the West. So we have about 3 minutes before the break. So Any other habol dito sa crystallization? Manny,
Yeah. Well, the title of your show today is crystallization.
this part 1, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it crystallized politically. Whereas right after the 2010 elections, the 2013 elections, Vice President Binay was already dubbed as a shoo-in for 2016. Nobody is contesting that until August this year when this Binay expose came out. And significantly, people have been beginning to realize who this man really is. And they are tending to believe, well, I think this is the fault also of the Vice President by not answering directly the accusations against him. And this is manifested in these numbers going down, the two survey firms. It has gone tremendously down for the past 4 months, and we are still 1 year and 5 months before the 2016 elections.
Before we go to our break, nag-crystallize yung real status ni Binay, ano? But what about the status of the administration? Was it because when we were telescoping events, na yung time frame na nasisira eh. When was Corona impeached? 13, last year.
Yeah,
Ano tayo, tine-telescope natin, no? Yeah. But, hindi ba nag-crystallize, ask Ado, that the so-called anti-corruption campaign starting with Corona and down to Binay is very partisan. Kasi nga, yung mga kimbo and yung mga kapartido, hindi iniimbestigahan.
Well, basically, the start of the people's consciousness against corruption really started in the 2010 elections, rightly or wrongly, with the demonization of Manny Villar and the Anghari, if you remember all of that. And then it progressed in rightly or wrongly again in the impeachment of the former Chief Justice. And it flowed further and came up with the Million People's March, which was against the PDAF. It kind of got a big kick there because a lot of people filed charges leading to the Supreme Court decision that the PDAF and eventually the DAP were unconstitutional. So even the very government itself has been crystallized in the people's minds as being engaged in organized corruption of the people's funds.
Again, going to another crystallization with a minute before our break, I'll just bring up this question. What about the question of corruption, corporate corruption, corporatist corruption? Kasi ito ngayong electricity issue, di ba?
Correct.
Emergency power to solve a problem of summer next year, where they could have solved the problem years back and so on. Then the last December market manipulation.
Well, that's why earlier in our discussion I was proposing another title, which was A Ball of Confusion. What has come up and what has crystallized is that this government under B.S. Aquino does not have a platform at all. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's like a group of people running around like headless chicken, you see?
Okay.
And so if you go back to the aspect of power, there are many solutions to this power crisis, but they're just moving around in circles.
Since we have to move fast, power is one. Of course, a very big issue is the MRT operation.
Correct.
And it crystallized a lot of issues.
The trains don't come on time.
And why? Is the privatized train better than the LRT, which still publicly owned and publicly run?
And they even
it's running better, the
and
LRT.
They even overshoot their terminals.
Okay, Manny.
You know, in advanced country like UK, Sweden, etc., all these mass transport are under the state.
Okay, we have to take this break. We got a signal from our very pretty camera person there over there. Okay.